And the way it started, it's the way it's ending. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
All right. What's that thing guy? What's his name? Sketch. You know, I need you to watch some clips after today about Sketch, bro. He's the new guy blowing up the internet.
I already have homework.
ESPN, all these other, even ESPN does it, bro. All these athletes that have been on March Madness, baseball athletes, they all throw the "What's up, brother" to everybody. As soon as like they score or hit a home run, they're just like, so it's hilarious. But yeah, we made it. We made it to the end. This is a No Diddy podcast again, so no such stuff, no Herbert, none of that stuff is in this podcast today. But you did have a topic that we're going to talk about, which we're going to mention that in a bit. I'll let Anthony kind of run that area. But towards the end, we're just going to talk about how we got here, the goals we set up, and just summarizing if I'm satisfied with how the podcast did this season.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about there too.
Yeah. But go ahead. Tell us what we're going to be talking about, man. I feel like you can phrase it a lot better than I can at this point.
Shoot, okay, I'll try. We just got the topic today, but it's the power of association and really thinking about the content you consume and like how impactful that is in your everyday life and how much of an influence that has. So, yeah, big loaded
facts. And which I said to you, we're kind of like the product too. Like we're trying to be the product to the people consuming us on, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Reels, Facebook Reels, which I didn't even know it was a fucking thing.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
We're contributing to it.
Yeah, man.
Okay, yes. We can start there. You want to start there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a bunch of times via text, in person, phone calls, and I think my goal has always been something that I always wanted to get a perspective of people's ideas and their ideologies of where they come from with certain situations. But I didn't know how to phrase, which I'm giving, Ant his flowers. I didn't know how to phrase that in an Insta bio. So that's kind of like the focus for next season's goal too. Just, we'll touch up on it a little bit today. But that like my main goal for next season is to basically focus on personal development, life lessons, relationships, and adulthood, because that is my main goal. Like I know I keep saying perspective, but what kind of perspective? Like where are you? Like you told me, like sit down, talk to yourself. Really, what perspective are you trying to get at it from people? So that's kind of like the area that I'm going. And like you said, just with the topic that we're going to talk about now, where I have to be the product of what I'm shouting out. I can't just, I feel like a hypocrite if I'm saying all this on an episode and I'm not even practicing my own practices.
That's absolutely true. I mean, so we're going to talk about like obviously some negative content that you could consume that is probably not in your best interest long term.
Correct.
But we're also, like you mentioned, the product of creating this content that people consume. So where's the responsibility on our part? Where's where do we see ourselves? What are we aiming at? And that's kind of why, just to talk a little bit about it, but in my podcast, I want to focus a lot on self-development, things that I could talk to, some of my experiences that have been beneficial for me in some way. And I want to bring guests that kind of, because everyone has a unique perspective on something. Something has definitely happened. Everyone has a story.
Yeah, right? Exactly. That's beautiful. Everyone has a story.
Yeah. Correct. And I want to bring that out in a positive way, if possible. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we could start. I mean, where do you see yourself, I guess? What's your goal of the podcast? What do you want to do?
I'll definitely answer that question. I feel like there was a question in the beginning too that you kind of asked, but it wasn't a question format. Like, what responsibilities do we have as like a person trying to be in this platform?
Let's start with that.
Yeah, like I feel like like you said, we are also the consumer of a bunch of products out there. And a person like myself, I'll speak for myself. I know Ant doesn't really go on TikTok, but I know what you mean by there's so much shit out there. And because TikTok kind of will show you things that you base your attention on, it could be good and bad, because if you don't have like a broad mindset, I can't even imagine how your algorithm looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like my algorithm's all over the place because it doesn't know if it should throw me wrestling, conspiracy theories, what's it called, news, because I that's how I consume my news most of the time. Sports, what kind of sports, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can go anywhere from that aspect. And because I don't follow anybody, like, I really don't follow much people unless it's like someone that I really love their
Hmm.
content on what they like display. My algorithm's all over the place, so it
Right.
doesn't know what. But can you imagine a simple-minded kid that just watches nonstop like porn, or like fucking just watches consumptions of food,
Right.
like, and that's also something that's in my algorithm too because of Cuisine Kings and stuff like that. So I know I have a broad For You page, but like I'm just saying, like, imagine a kid that doesn't, like, the negative stuff he's just getting repeated, and he's gonna think it's just normal.
Right.
And we said it too with Cece, like, we're in an era where negativity and dark humor is a norm,
It's a
and
norm.
positivity is weird.
Right.
Like, ew,
Yeah.
look at that guy trying to be like way too positive. Like, no way he's that happy. Facts, but no way I'm that also that the fucking depressed shit. Like, resending memes of depressing stuff and not wanting to be at work, thinking that, beach life is always like going to be a case. It's not. You have to work to get that beach life. There has to be a good to the bad. So there is a responsibility for me because I try to keep it like raw, real. Like, this is what's going on with me this week. This is what this episode's about. And this is coming from like a raw perspective and just who I am as a person.
Yeah, that's really fantastic because you also know that the content that you're seeing on these platforms, whether it's like wrestling or any of the other things that you mentioned, like you know whether, it's something that you like or something new maybe that you haven't seen. But I think what's really interesting is everyone at home could test this out right now. Look at the first 25 scrolls. What's your average scroll? 25 times you scroll up or down on TikTok. Is it left or right?
That's probably, those are rookie numbers, probably.
Rookie. Okay.
It's
Di-
probably talking about like high
yeah.
hundreds.
It could be high hundreds, right? So, like, if it's a high hundreds, you're probably getting a wide variety of topics because
Yeah.
you probably need to see like 3 or 4 clips
Hmm.
from like wrestling to be satisfied.
Yeah, yeah,
Then you're
probably.
good.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it has so many more that it could show you. But a test at home that you could do, look at the first 25 and simply rate it. Is this a positive thing for me in my life to consume or not? Keep it very simple. Don't get too into the weeds of it. Just overall,
Hmm.
is it positive or negative for me? Rate it. And is a majority, and after that, after you aggregate all your results, you put it together, do you have an, is it a higher above average that it's negative? Then the content you're consuming is likely negative. I mean, you rated it yourself, right? So if that's the case, you want to try to look at different content because the more you look at something negative, the more you believe that everything around you is negative. And that is what gets fostered into your mindset and it poisons all of your perspectives. It makes you unable to look at something differently. And so
Yes.
it's extremely important
Hmm.
that you get your mind right. What does
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg say?
Yeah.
Get your mind right. But he's
Yeah.
talking about weed, but it's kind of the same idea. You gotta get your mind right on these
Correct.
platforms.
Yeah. I didn't even know Snoop Dogg said that. You just taught
Yeah,
me
get
something.
your mind right.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I had no idea that was a thing.
Shout out to Snoop Dogg.
That reminds me of something actually. I don't know if you ever read this book. It's a child's book, but it's also like a business motivational book. It's called Who Took My Cheese? Have you ever read that book?
No, I haven't. Well,
It
that's
is, I recommend anyone that has an hour of their day, an hour, that's how short the book is,
oh wow.
to read this book. It's very simple. It's a simple book about these mice. And in the story, basically the scientists, they don't well, you learn that it's a lab where they put cheese in the same spot every day at like 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So these mice, what do they do at 3 p.m. because they finally figured out the maze? They go and get the cheese at 3 p.m. and they go home, and the same thing happens day after day until one day the cheese isn't there. So then the mice basically are now conflicted with the situation. Half the mice want to stay and hope for that tomorrow the cheese will be there. And the other half of the mice are like, no, I think what we should do is expand our borders and go into the section of the maze that we've never been to before and try to see if we can find some cheese in the other side.
Right.
So the other half of the mice say no. It's been happening every day. It's going to happen again. You have to just have faith. The other mice is like, you have to make a decision here. If you're willing to stay, stay. We're going to move out. They end up moving and they go through a lot of terrain and struggles within the new, you know, section of the maze, but eventually they find a way out. And what, behold it or not,
Hmm.
what do they see? Cheese. The other mice end up, they don't really tell you what happens, but the other mice basically die from starvation.
Because they're waiting for like a free handout and they're expecting and they don't want to go out and explore to fix themselves. That's a beautiful
Yeah, bro.
analogy.
You should.
That
You
that's an
should.
experiment, not an analogy, actually,
Yeah,
right?
it's an
But they did an
experiment. Yeah.
experiment on this.
Well, it's a book. It's literally called "Who Took My Cheese." It's a children's book. But it's very good. It's in it. It's like in the entrepreneurial section. This is when I was used to read a lot. I used to read a lot, but obviously that book was it was easy to grab because I'm like, yo, this book is like 30 pages. Like I'm gonna fucking, and it's in the entrepreneurial section. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna take my time because there's something I could take out of it. And what I took out of it was basically like there's no free handouts. And if there is a free handout, are you expecting it to be there forever?
Don't
No.
take it for granted.
Or don't take it for granted. There's so many valuable lessons like don't be stuck with comfort. Take yourself out of comfortability. Explore the world. Even though it might be uncomfortable for a little bit, you don't know what's standing on the other side of the maze. You know, so there's so many lessons within that short book, bro.
So many, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you got.
Seriously, I'll give you the book. I'll let you. I'll lend it to you. It's literally it's fucking.
Look at that. Look at that.
It's an hour to read, bro.
Sharing
it's so good.
knowledge.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a,
of
it's a good
course.
friend.
Um, but yeah, no. The only reason I took that out of that is because it's just like it could be applied to anything. Like, and I see people doing it, and I have mixed feelings. Like people that like shut off their social media. You know, I think it's definitely shows a mental fortitude to do that, but I feel like you should be able to eventually have the app on your phone and just choose not to watch it. Like and I get why people do it because they know that they'll give in to temptation, which is also smart. If you know yourself really well and you're better off without the app and it works for you, go for it. I think that also shows mental fortitude, but eventually you have to know that you have to reach to the next level. There's always a next level to some progress. Like if you have to delete the app, fine, do that for a year. Next year, try leaving the app and just don't fucking open it. You know what I mean? It's progression.
I could talk to that because I'm
Yeah.
actually perfectly in that scenario.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I first downloaded TikTok during I think the pandemic, and I tried it out, and I really liked it. It's a great. When you talk about getting recommendations for content that you want to see, like I enjoyed it.
Facts.
The problem was I couldn't control it. I could not control myself.
I couldn't either.
That is the truth. And so I kept going on the app, and I would spend hours of my day every single day on the app, getting that short dopamine hit that we all love, right? It feels good when you see a clip, you're like, fuck yeah, he said that. And that's how I feel. And that made me want to go to the gym, or now I'm going to take out the trash.
Exactly. Small things.
Right. Small things. But like, man, honestly, for me, after all of the, like specifically with TikTok, like there's just, I already get that satisfaction from other apps. Having that also, I don't see the benefit right now. I might get, I do have obviously a lot of friends and close people around that want to send me things, and I could click on it with a link, but it's so painful. They make it when you don't have the app, they make it so painful. It plays without audio, it auto plays another thing, and you can't go back.
Yeah.
They do it on purpose.
They definitely do.
Of course. But yeah, like I think right now for me, it's I'm satisfied with what I get from other apps, and I don't need TikTok right now. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
Maybe I do. But at the moment,
whatever you find on TikTok, you're gonna find an Instagram reel anyway. So it's just the way. It's just like you said. It's the way that the display. Instagram's not shoving it in your face. It's making it an option.
See, but that
says, I know it speaks volume. You're right. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. It does speak volume, but to the aspect of eventually, I feel like everyone has to work in a way of just even me. I'm a hypocrite. I've been on TikTok, Instagram, but you get to a point where you're like, all right, I know when to limit it, especially when I'm with my friends. Like I see people like Herbert. I'm sorry, I'm using you as an example, Herbert. It's such an addiction when you see someone just even when they're in a group setting having fun. The moment it just gets quiet for like 10 seconds, you have the itch and the urge just to look at your phone. It's just he thinks I'm joking with it, but I tell him all the time, but it's gross. It just shows the nature of where how easily they got you, like clicking and touching and looking for the next notification, looking for the next like, looking for the next content display. And that's not where I'm at. If I'm in a group setting right now, like I'm not gonna go and check my phone for the next update. Like fuck that. I'm enjoying the moment of my peers. I'm going to give them my full time and attention because it's respectful too. It's also the way you've been developed as a kid. Like
Mm,
my mom had that mentality at the table. No TV, no phone. You sit down with your family
yeah.
and you conversate. So it also goes to upbringing too.
So you grew up with that upbringing to help you not build bad habits
Yeah,
when it comes to being in a group setting. Now I have a question for you. When you are in a group setting that is boring, and it's, it's just not a lot of exciting things happening. And I know kind of the group setting, we talked a lot about stories on this pod.
yeah.
Let's say no one's drinking. Let's say no one's having fun. Let's say no one is conversating as much as a good night. Now, do you have the urge?
Um,
Do you have the urge in those settings?
me personally, I not to you know, tap my own back, but I try to then be someone that starts a conversation. You know, I don't try to let it get there, but obviously I'm not perfect. So when it does, even with, or maybe I'm just not feeling like talking that day, yeah, I'll go on my phone and stuff like that. And I guess in a weird way,
Mm.
I have to read the room. Like if everyone's on their phone or a good amount of people are on their phone and we're just chilling and no one's really, it's just really about just being
Being together.
being together in that present moment. Then yeah, I'll switch on I'll look for a couple memes to share with everybody.
But you'll still engage with them.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
try to make it a part where like if I'm laughing, I'm trying to make sure the next person knows what I'm laughing at. Like, yo, bro, look at this.
Yeah.
But it's never my first go to. Like, I don't really like say like, oh, like you know what I mean. Like, it's just that it's not something that I'm responsive to. But obviously, in times where I'm alone at home, I'm not the hypocrite. I know I'm like ha 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 ha. Like, you know what I mean. But I'm getting to the point where I'm finally realizing like, ooh, like yo, you consuming way too much time on like Instagram or like TikTok, and I have to slow it down.
Right.
And even if it's weird, I try to do it with another thing that might not be the best, but I'll be like, let me go play video games, or let me go watch TV, or read a book. I haven't done that in a bit, and try to change it up. I don't like to look at Monday to Friday as the same thing. Like if I'm saying Monday to Friday, I go work, home, gym, reels, and then sleep. All right, then the next day is gonna be work, home, gym, video game, sleep. Work, home, gym, movie, sleep. Work, home, gym, straight to sleep. You know what I mean? I try not to make it as like,
You try to change it up.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah,
Um, yeah, man. That was a good point that you made, though. Overall, like the difference between being able to socialize in a group setting, even if the room, seems like everyone's on their phone. Like you still try to engage,
yeah.
even though, like, obviously you're not gonna in a group setting like that, you're not going to be like on a microphone doing karaoke because you're reading
you
the
might,
room.
you might if you're hanging out with Kyle.
Yeah, everyone's on their phone and he just pulls out karaoke.
Yo, a karaoke night, bro. We should do that.
Why not?
But it's I mean,
Yeah.
socializing is a skill now, right? Like you never thought that
Yes,
would be ever a fucking thing.
I've been working on it for a very long time. I'm still working on it.
You're
And
doing a lot better from the first time we met.
what was the first? What was the first?
When you were a young kid
Yeah,
and you fucking barely said anything other than yo.
yeah.
That's
See,
probably it. That was the extent of our
mad shy.
conversation. And I was just like, yo, little Jay, yo. And then just that's it.
Nothing. Yeah, I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
That's the
But
truth. But you
just
see, you
work
grow,
on
you
it.
grow. And
Exactly.
this whole podcast, to be honest with you guys, it's very difficult to talk about a lot of topics constantly and keep the conversation going and say some really useful, possibly constructive things. It takes
Facts.
effort. But like this is way out of my comfort zone. but I appreciate being in it because to me, I look at it as an opportunity. Whether I succeed or not, it doesn't really matter. The
Facts.
fact that I'm doing it is enough, and that's the growth.
Yeah, it's
Because
literally repetition.
I know this is a weak part of who I am. The weakest part was my ability to socialize. So being in this environment helps me break out of that. And
Exactly.
you said it just before, it's facts. I never used to socialize, but I put myself in a situation like this. Well, I have to. But it also helps that I was doing YouTube for a very long time. But it was very different because in my YouTube days, I didn't really have a camera on my face. Now I have a camera on my face.
Yeah.
It's different. You're
It's completely.
accountable. That's how I feel, at least. So I try to not say things that I don't believe in. I try to say things with a little bit, there's a little bit of thought that goes into what I'm trying to say. And I'm not going to get everything right.
No.
I'm going to say some dumb things on the podcast. Come on now.
And he has.
But,
He has.
like it's about taking the next step, acknowledging it, growing from it. And that's what we want to do. We want to grow. How do we
Facts.
grow? Yeah,
Well,
how do we grow?
Well, you
Puka?
said it, man. You said it perfectly. Not everyone's comfortable with a mic and a camera in their face. Neither was
Definitely.
I. I mean, I started with the fucking audio equipment only, and
Yes.
that was awkward.
That was still awkward. You see that?
Yeah,
Why was it? So
because-
what was the awkward part about it?
Because you overthink it. You exactly what you said. You try to be perfect, and then you start realizing you can't be. And even when you do fuck up a lot, it's something as easy as snipping out the audio clip.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's as easy. Probably. I try not to do that, right? But in the beginning, when you learn, you want to give yourself that option because perfection is impossible. Like, you're never gonna get that. You're not gonna look You're not gonna look like the same as you did in episode 7 and 8, because from 7 to 8, a week passed by. The best things or the worst things could have happened to you. You know what I mean?
Life
And
happens.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. And then you live and you learn on how you adjust. I've told you I use this platform to have improved my socializing skills a lot too. I don't think I had an issue socializing. I had an issue articulating words, thoughts quickly.
Well, this is a beautiful. I've already noticed this about you. In your previous podcast to now, you're way better at articulating certain topics. I will say, to give you a very straight example, when you talked about the Diddy stories and all of those, like you said it, like you fully captured my attention in that podcast, and it actually made sense. Like I was able to follow it
Yeah.
from start to end. And when I ended up watching the documentary, the Nickelodeon, what's it called?
You watched it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Nice.
I watched it Quiet on Set. When I watched it, I was like, "Holy crap!" He gave a synopsis of the four hours of footage. I was like, "Hold!" And he did it in one sitting. That's pretty good. You weren't perfect, but
Yeah.
no, you did a great job.
No.
So
I know.
I see the progress that you've made, and that's what it's all about. Are we,
Exactly.
There
And
you
you know what? It's beautiful that you said that because it's like it's storytelling, bro. That's a skill I never had. Like well,
Yeah.
you know what?
I don't have that at all.
I have storytelling to my own, like if you're my friend, I can storytell because people there know how I articulate my words, how I am with them. So you guys can get a lot of the comedic side of me, right? But when I'm like with strangers or people are listening for the first time, I have to be aware of that. Like they don't know who I am outside of this podcast. And it's hilarious because like throughout this whole season, man, you have seen different sides of me. You've seen me drunk. You've seen me with my nieces as a family man. You've seen me with you guys, just you alone, you with your brother.
Yep.
There are so many different versions of me and who I am with who's in front of me.
There is.
Yeah.
Because we never really spent a lot of time before the podcast.
No.
Before the podcast, in our whole life, we've spent the most time during this podcast ever.
Yeah, facts.
Like ever. So like this was definitely out of our comfort zone.
Absolutely, man. And that's what you got to do. You just got to face it and just fucking move on with it. And I always tell this to people. I tell this to everyone that asks me for advice. I mean, I'll be honest right now. I'm transitioning to a new job, and I'm not nervous anymore because it's bittersweet. Like I'm going back to an older company that I used to work for, and it feels nice because it's like I said, I'm gonna bring it up again, but it's like God telling me like, yo, you have unfinished business to do, so I'm giving you a second chance to do this. And I feel like my life has been that. Like a full circle, like telling me like you didn't really do what you needed to do in part A. Let's just go to part B, C, D. Okay, now you're back to like part A again.
But part A plus the experience in
Plus
B,
the
D, C,
experience.
B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, yeah,
You
bro.
know,
Like
so
all this growth, all this progression, all this new like I'm so different. Like if I had a time machine, I would love to show you guys. I would kick out Ant right now and be like, here's Puka from 2000 and when was that 21? 2012,
damn.
2014. And here's Puka from 2020 like 4. Let's talk. And bro, I came in that guy would probably barely say anything. He'd be like, "Yo, you got another beer or something?" Like,
You
I
would be
got,
drinking.
I got to get drunk to be comfortable to talk to you. And I'd be like, I'd be looking down at this kid and be like, "Holy fuck, what you don't know, like you fucking moron." You know what I mean?
That's how we all are, though. That's how, it's like when we look back after so many years of like actually learning shit. You know you're just critical of yourself. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's so funny, dude. I want to if you want to share, how you grew from going back to an older job. Like, what was something different that you did now that you didn't do in the beginning? And I was thinking if you want to share negotiation.
Negotiation.
Yeah,
What do you mean by that?
negotiation of returning
Oh,
that you
like what I asked for?
not like not you don't have to get into specifics, but like what you obviously negotiated as opposed to when you first
Oh,
worked there.
yeah. I mean, of course. The first obviously part was making sure I knew my worth. Right. I wasn't gonna go for the same money. Obviously, I got more money, but it was more than that. It was just kind of like this negotiation felt more like they wanted me
Hmm.
for the first time. It's not like obviously I went to them for the application and everything, but from there it was just like we need you, we want you,
Yeah,
like
like you had great experience
yeah,
there.
like you're a returning employee, you were great. There's nothing bad said about you, which is a miracle. But but we want to offer you the job and we're willing to go here. And at first I was like, let me think about it. Okay, we're willing to go here. I'm like, a little bit better, but let me think about it. No, you know what? This is our final offer. Take it or leave it, and we're willing to go up to this. And I'm like, you know what? That I can work with. Like, all right, so let's talk. So it's good being on that side where I know my worth. I've gained the experience and I'm like 10 years in this business. Like I know how it works. And even if it doesn't go the way, I mean, I'm not going in with that mindset, but even if it doesn't go, because this is how much this is why older people I think always say to you like, "Oh, I know. I've been there, right? Like I've experienced it." And you really should listen to those people even though I was that young kid that didn't listen like, "Oh, no, like I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about, old man. You're just grumpy." But
Mhm.
I know what it takes now to be there, and I'm not worried if I don't like it, right? I've been past that. I've been at jobs that I don't like. And what happens? You just look for the next best thing. Look for a situation out and go for it. And do your time at that shitty job
Mhm.
while you're looking for other spots because it's nothing it can't be that bad. You know,
But
it just can't.
definitely you felt really good after being having the ability to say no.
Yeah.
You twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just in your story. You had the ability to walk away twice. What did that give you? That gave you security and confidence that you're worth a certain amount and that you're willing to walk away. It's so important about negotiation. Willing to walk away.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
of course.
but actually mean it. That's another topic. That's a topic I might cover on my pod. I don't
Yeah,
know.
please
Like
don't spoil it too much here.
no, but yeah, just to stay on topic. Uh so growth mindset, like one thing I want to transition this conversation into is think actual practical steps that we take um, to grow. And I could get started if you want.
Go ahead.
Um, for the most part, it's taking the incremental steps. I talked about this on one of our older episodes.
Absolutely,
Take
I
a first
remember.
step. So that was a good episode.
Great
I enjoyed
episode.
that one. Um,
Still blowing up today.
yeah, like I really I I was really prepared for that. I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about a couple of things here that are pretty deep to me, very, very personal, but really, like, they're so small and they sound corny when you say it out loud, especially in front of a camera, especially posting on Instagram with your whole family to watch and all your friends and everyone you've ever met, you know? But this is real shit. Like, I
Facts.
actually derived a lot of value from this because most of my life I did not take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I took small steps to start, I actually felt a lot better. And that just snowballed. It just snowballed. And so when I talk about things like, I talked about it a little bit in that episode, but like taking out the trash, doing monotonous things that you think have no value have actually the most value in your life. It's actually counterintuitive
They build.
because you do these things the most in your life.
Facts.
You clean your room, you spend the time in your room the most in your whole life.
Facts.
You know, this is your sanctuary, this is your peace for the most part. A lot of people view it that way. So if your room is chaotic or unorganized, you reflect that into the world, like literally, because you spend the most time there and that's what you see. That's your existence. So when you take small steps to improve the stupid things like that, it sounds stupid, but they're the most important.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing I would say for a growth mindset is take anything in your life, no matter how small, and start trying to accomplish it. And if you want steps on how to do that, like goal setting, just literally break it down in steps that you're willing to take. And if it's too big of a step, just break it down a little bit more. Negotiate with yourself. Don't be a tyrant to yourself. Just try to take the steps that you need to get it done. That's the most important thing. You gotta get it done.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
gotta keep it 1K.
I like it. I only got 2 comments on that.
Go, yeah.
I think I agree. I knew he was correct about all the small steps, is because I've heard it in a corny TV show from a mom saying it to her son.
There we
Messy room is a messy mind. And it's so facts. You don't really let that marinate, but like if you don't know where something is in your room, what you claim is yours, right? How are the thoughts in your brain, right? Like how are you going to tell me that you know for a fact if you can't even tell me where your socks are, or like where your keys are to your car?
go. Right.
These are all your things, like, you
Right.
know what I mean? And I get it if it's not like if it's a shared bedroom, that's even harder. That's why sometimes people like fight and like, let me not go down that rabbit hole, but like it's what you claim is yours, you should have some order to it. Like there should be, maybe it doesn't make sense to Anthony, but it should make sense to you, right? And also I just knew you were factual with the making your room and stuff, like cleaning. I don't know if you ever saw this motivational video from this famous Navy SEAL. He gave a speech, and in that speech he basically says make he calls it's called, I think he has a book, it's called Making Your Bed. And he starts off and says like, that's the first thing they teach you in boot camp. Like you have to know how to make your bed, and if your bed is not made correctly, you get punished for it. You have to do drills for it. And he says
Wow.
to a outside mind, that seems crazy, but to someone in the Navy SEALs, of course that makes sense, because how are you going to trust your brother to have your back when you can't even find the time to make your bed? Like, and that's fucking crazy, right? Like, how do you say you'll take a bullet for somebody, but you can't even fucking clean the dust under your bed? You know what I mean? And it comes to fruition where like you make time for these things, and you start to realize you know what you need to do, and the things that you're avoiding is going to pile up, and you're just gonna get stressed out, and you're gonna realize you're just living in a dirty ass room, dirty ass fucking place. It's because it leaks from the room to the kitchen to the living room, and just like your brain, if you
Yes.
let that happen too, negative stuff will creep in here, creep in there. Next thing you know, you're just splurring out what you fucking just absorbed.
That's exactly right. You utter what is in your mind for the most part. If you have a chaotic mind, you utter chaos in a way. Like you don't have consistent, coherent thoughts.
Yeah.
So that is so interesting. So you said they did it in a military boot camp from this book that you read that you talked about, or
It's a
like
speech, but he has a book. I'm pretty sure it's called Making Your Bed. I'll find it and clip it because it's a really good speech,
Mhm.
and he basically talks about the importance of just making your bed, and how, like, why is that important? And I get it from the aspect of like, obviously it's the military. That's like a number one thing they focus on, but
Yeah.
it's the small things they focus on.
And I wanted to cover that because you take it to the most extreme example in people's lives, going to the military and serving a country, to be prepared to die for that country. Like that is the most biggest risk you could take in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about making your bed, the most mundane thing. So that's what I want to like focus on is like, you see how important that might be?
Yeah.
Because you're going to spend most of your life making your bed, even in that scenario.
Yep.
Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? So, like,
That's why you see them nice, cut, and clean, bro, because they have an image to. I mean, even if you might not like the military, bro, there's an image to be displayed, and they'll never have an undry cleaned suit. Everything is in tip top shape from their hat to their fucking shoelaces. Like, you'll never find them out of order. Like, everything has an order for a reason, and they carry those life lessons till they die.
and that's actually a beautiful thing that you've mentioned, because order is what gives people confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the military man and his clothes are not ironed, well, he didn't do something, right? And he didn't pay attention to his presentation. But if you always see them very clean cut, very, organized, you have confidence that these people are willing to, lead your country basically and
Hell yeah.
help. That is such an important thing, like the image of representation.
Yeah, that's what makes us look scary. Like when you see a front line of soldiers and they all look the same, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, like,
Like
don't want to mess.
I don't want to fuck with one of them. One could be 5'4", the other could be 6'5", and they're all on the line. You're just like, I ain't fucking with any of those motherfuckers. Like I'm going the opposite way. Like
Huge
fuck that.
respect to the military man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Yeah, definitely. God bless them all and make sure that they are safe. But it is like this is what I'm getting out of what you're telling me. It makes sense because I've heard it somewhere. I've seen it be displayed, and it just makes sense. Having order within what you control will help you in your day to day, and it makes your mind stronger, man.
That's exactly right. And we're not here to say that you have to have it all figured out and you have to be perfect or aim at
Absolutely not.
perfection. We're talking about aiming for incremental steps.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of your life, you're lucky to get anywhere farther, right? Life is very difficult. But the whole point is to aim high and actually try to execute for your well being. And it sounds corny, but like, bro, like you got to take care of yourself. Like, it's, we see it all the time. Like, because I was a victim of this. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Like, I was a victim of this mindset. Like, my room is messed up. I'm not gonna take the time to learn how to fix it because everything else in my life might be not the best at the time, and so I victimize myself and I don't do anything to solve it. But all it takes is to clean the top of your dresser one day, and then, oh, this is not so bad. And then I'll clean my sock drawer, and then I'll clean my pants drawer. Blah 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 blah. You get it done, and at the end of it, you have a clean room. It doesn't matter that it took 3 months,
Yeah,
guys. It took 3 months. Here it is.
yeah.
It took 3 months to clean my room. Okay, right?
Like fuck.
Not very
But
not very sexy,
yeah, no,
right? But
no.
it got done.
It got done exactly, and then the next time you do it, it'll take 2 months, 1 month, a week.
And hopefully it never gets to that
Yeah,
point
yeah,
because I built
exactly.
the necessary
Steps.
steps to not get it into that chaos. But you see, I'm admitting all this stuff. Like, come on, guys, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Like, it's all right.
It
It's
makes
not a big deal.
sense. It
I'm
makes
in a much
sense.
better place because I've fixed all that, and I love that I admit that because it's like, yo, that's a funny thing. I've overcome it finally. Now I can
Facts.
laugh about it.
Facts.
Like,
No, it makes sense completely, 100%. I've told Ant like, um, no one's perfect, man. We all slip up. He slips
oh,
up. I slip up.
I'm gonna keep slipping up.
Yeah. It's just it's in like just because we preach, it doesn't mean like only perfect. Like we're not. I hate those podcasts that are like that because it's not realistic. But you aim for perfection. You
You aim.
swing and you might miss. There are times where you're like like I said to him, there are outside forces that you can't control that sometimes slip into your life and it derails you for a little bit, and that's completely fine. Like that's not uncommon. The Even like the people you look up to, like those forces slip up all the time. Like we mention all the time, but I watch sports, and sports is only one winner, right? And second place will always be forgotten. But if you're a fan of that, you're proud of your second place team because you know how far they've gotten to be there, you know, and you join the ride as a fan and you realize like that's not you know that's not an unsuccessful season, but sadly because they're not number one, they'll never be cheered on by the rest of the fans. They'll only be cheered on by you.
It's
And
a theme that we bring up a lot on this podcast,
mhm.
and you mentioned it actually. Is like your life is a book, and there's chapters to your life. So they might not have the best chapter at that point, but that chapter was necessary in the future chapter for them to get first place.
And it's always that chapter that's the juiciest for the person to read
Yeah,
when they're
it's
falling down.
it's the best part. Honestly, every hero story has difficulty in overcoming it. No hero story ever in the world is interesting when there's no difficulty
Yeah,
around
can
that.
you imagine chapter 1 end success, chapter 2 end success?
No, yeah,
It's
yeah. Like
just
the hero of the story just grew up with everything he needed. He didn't have to work. He didn't have to do anything, and at the end of it, he beats the bad guy and didn't have to learn anything or struggle at all.
yeah.
No, it will never be interesting.
The most
That will
simplest
never.
one that everyone can relate to is Spider-Man. Grew up in Queens without a dad and mom, uncle and aunt. Poor, impoverished, was that nerdy kid. Everything went wrong with him, and he gets bitten by a fucking spider to become this superhero where he even struggles to adapt to becoming the superhero. And just when you're about to root for him and think that, like, yeah, nothing's gonna go wrong, his uncle gets shot. Right? And then
There
like
you
you're
go.
like, holy fuck, like what's going on? Like there's no way there's a uphill from here, and he does. He becomes this awesome Spider-Man that's look, and people fucking go right past this. He's looking for the killer of his uncle throughout this whole time. He's not really actually being a superhero. He's just looking for the killer of his uncle to get revenge until he realizes like that's not the what his uncle would have wanted. Right? You know what I mean? So it's just like it gets
So
me
many
so tight.
obstacles.
Yeah,
But
if it's just to reel you in, but just like take that as your life lesson too. Like there will be obstacles that where you might have been motivated for the wrong reasons, and when you get there, you're like, "Fuck, like that's not what I wanted." But you look at yourself, and the progress is good. But now you grow from there. You decide to take another route. Like I've gotten here now. Like what do I do with this? Do it for
exactly.
good, or like well, how do I? Can I help somebody approach? You know, be like me, and not do it for the wrong reasons. Do it for the right reasons. Because sometimes there's stories to be said there. You know, like not many people do things for the right reasons and go for it, you know? Like someone usually wants to work out because they want like what's his name? Tyrese you know Tyrese from oh my god, Tyrese from The Longest Yard?
Is that a show? Is that a
Tyrese
book?
Cruz.
So I don't
Oh,
know.
Everybody Hates Chris. Have you watched that?
Yeah,
The dad, Tyrese. That's
that's
his name.
Tyrese.
Yeah.
Okay, I did. I
So
have.
the reason he's so big is obviously because he played football, but he wanted to grow strong because he wanted to defend his mom that was getting beat up by his dad. His dad used to assault his mom.
Oh wow.
So a reason he got into sports was to stay away from home and get distracted and also to get stronger and bigger to a point where he was able to.
Stand up to his dad.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of reasons why people get to certain, you know, successful parts in their lives because of so much bad that has happened to them.
Mm.
And people don't really know that journey, but today we're all figuring it out because of podcasts, because of interviews, because of people being real. And that's the whole point of this. Is just like who made Ant, who made Puka, what made you do this, how did you overcome that? Because a lot of us do have similar struggles, and some of us might have completely different stories that we've never even thought about in our lives.
Yeah, man. A lot of this is like everything that we're doing. I think is like a work in progress. Like I've been. I talked about this so many times, but just starting thing. I used to be the guy to say, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this," and I never would start. And I'm starting to finally turn that around because I've always had the ambition and the drive to do something, but maybe not the resources, maybe not the time because I overwhelm myself with a lot of things. That's another thing. You don't want to overwhelm yourself too much. Know what you're capable of, and it's okay to postpone things a little bit to get the things that you have going on right now in order. And that's what I'm doing now. That's why my podcast got delayed, right? And I want to wrap it up with Puka strong, you know, fucking
Facts.
nice strong podcast. And yeah, and it was also, feeling it out. Do I actually want to do a podcast? Part of it, right? Like
That was my next thing to tell you. It's
right.
just like you're preaching to the choir, bro. So like I know what it means to like start a bunch of shit and not do it. And it's like you have to really ask yourself these questions. is this something I'm really passionate and really want to do? Because there's sometimes like there are things that you might not be passionate and really want to do, but it needs to be done. So like you have to know the difference, right? Like health wise, right? You know what you have to do health wise, and if you choose not to do it, you're going down a bad rabbit hole, right? So that'll be your own demise. But then there are things like I want to be a streamer, but you only want to do it because that's all you see on your like your for you page.
Yeah,
It's like
very true.
is that something that you really want to do, or are you just intrigued by these streams? It's okay to just be a fan, right?
That's a great point. That I think part of that was my journey with doing YouTube and gaming. Like back in the day, I did have an interest, but when I wanted to start back up my YouTube channel, like I think 4 years ago, before I got my career job, I was like, I was very conflicted. I'm like, do I actually want to do gaming? I don't feel the same way I used to, but I felt like I had to because my channel was about gaming.
Yeah.
But then I switched it to programming, and I thought my channel had to be programming, and now it's gonna be podcasting. Like this shit happens. This is over a lifetime.
Yeah, bro.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm finally. I feel like I have, a goal in mind that I'm executing in the background here. But it's funny how things turn out. It's exactly what you said. Like maybe it's fine to be a fan. Like you could be a fan of something. Maybe what you're set to do is completely different than what you think it is, and just have an open heart to opportunity, because opportunity is in front of us all the time, but it's sometimes not opportunity we want to take.
Keep talking. I'm just getting my water.
Okay. It's like sometimes not opportunity we want to take. So it's important to recognize opportunity, and if it's something we're willing to take. Like,
Touche.
yeah.
That's the hardest part, man. I mean, like I said to you, I had so many ideas first building up, like, and I just know that it's easier with people, but it's also harder in the aspect of
Scheduling.
posting it. Like the content is easily like Cuisine Kings is perfect proof of me that everyone that I've talked to, everyone says, and I don't think they just say it to say it. I really truly believe. Like I know when someone's BSing me, and they say, "Yo, the content's there, bro." They're like, "You guys are remarkable," and it's easy because we're friends. So it's raw. It's completely raw. It's like the friendship's there, so it's nothing like being forced. Like there's no scripts, right? So people like that, and I know we can do something with it, but it's hard to now schedule a bunch of 30-year-olds to come together while they all have careers and stuff. But even in my podcast, I don't have to be fake. I don't have to. No one's telling me what to say. No one's telling me what to do, and it's easier for me to be able to just deliver these messages to people because that's how I feel at that moment. And my feelings do change. There might be something that I've said in episode 1 that I don't feel the same again in this episode, and it's normal. But what he said, it's knowing really what you want is the hardest thing to really realize, because that's where you need to dive into your brain. And a lot of people don't like having conversations with themselves. They don't like feeling like sometimes you do something and you get so far and you're like, fuck, I don't really enjoy this.
That's okay, though. That's
exactly.
Right.
But some people don't even want to feel that. They don't want to feel the regret. They don't want to say like, oh, but I'm letting down so many people. Who gives a fuck? If it's not something that you're interested in, like if tomorrow I just say, fuck this podcast, I'm taking the L financially, but it's a life lesson that I'll be able to live with and know that maybe that's not the route I want to go. I'm not saying that that's my situation, but it's okay. Like sometimes a passion will cost you money, will cost you time, will cost you a lot of distress, but it takes that to learn, like, was that really what I wanted?
Yeah, that's a tough pill, because again, there's a commitment there financially, and
time wise,
sometimes
something we never get back, bro. Money we get back.
Time.
That's why I don't care about money.
But the very, very important thing to note there is that you at least got to learn quite a few skills.
Facts.
You're going to be a better speaker at the end of this, no matter what. It's already been
president,
proven.
2055.
He's going to be president. Puca's going to be president.
You imagine?
Oh my God. Puca, what's the year? What are we rooting for?
2050.
2050,
If Yeezy
guys.
said it, I can say it too.
Oh yeah, we're gonna hold him to it. No, no. Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that even if something doesn't fall through, because life is very difficult, right? You don't know
Fragile.
what could happen. You don't know what opportunities work for some and what work might not work for you. There might not be a market. There's so many factors that are difficult to control. The point is, if you want this, you have to recognize to do everything you can in your power to
Facts.
make it work and take the extra steps to make it work
Facts.
because you want to make sure your commitment given your best effort. That's an important thing because if you don't give your best effort and you don't succeed and you keep doing that, you will be on a cycle. So you want to try your best to focus most of your effort on doing something, with your best effort in mind, your best effort, your execution.
Absolutely.
And you're going to fail. I'm going to fail. But I'm going to try my best to just keep going. Even
Absolutely.
when I say something that I might not agree with, later, I might think, you know what? I messed up. I didn't mean that. I meant to say this. Or, you know what? I actually changed my mind on this, given new information. We're all work in progress, right? Let's not crucify everyone for their words, But
Absolutely.
um, it's very important to just keep going.
I agree with you
Yeah.
100%, man. That it makes the most sense. And sometimes you have to understand that when you format your brain and find the steps to get to a certain desire of what you want. So hypothetically, let's just say this podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
To give you an example, from the first season, it was just audio equipment. Never did I think I was ever going to go to video. But I got to a point where I'm like, you know what, video is needed. It makes it a little bit better. It might be harder for me down the line to find ways of editing, but you get there till you get there. But you have to realize there are risks you have to take and things you're gonna have to learn and time consumption you're gonna have to put in. You can't just expect things to get better without you also adapting.
That's right.
Like you add a camera, now you got to add a part of your knowledge to that. Like, all right, what do I can I at least learn the basics? Okay, you add better audio equipment. Okay, that means now it's completely different. Like that's I've had to adapt. I've had people to help me tremendously, and then just also putting in the time for me because it's my podcast. And Anthony said it best. Like you know how far you're gonna get with the time that you put in. So if I'm not putting in any time, my podcast was never gonna improve even a percentage.
And man, have you improved. So season 5 is coming. That's a nice
Facts.
transitional segue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So season 5, Mr. Puka, what is your plan?
Sure, man.
What do you think for season 5? Or if you want to start with a synopsis of season 4, what do you want to start with?
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has listened to season 4 because I've gotten a lot of comments, and thank you to Anthony's side of the family, friends. I've seen you guys
Thank you.
follow me. Like, I want to say thank you so much. He won't be in season 5 that much. Maybe he will probably appear for an episode,
Yeah.
and hopefully you guys don't unfollow me. But we'll have Ant and maybe McJ, but as solo guests, we're gonna work out a little mafia setup in my place where I'm at right now, where it's gonna just be 2 chairs, 2 mics, keep it nice and simple, one camera. I'm working on learning a little more about lights. That's the last thing Ant taught me today before I left. The simplicity of knowing some tricks to it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm leaving with a little mafia look. I don't want to give all the spoilers out, but it's either a little mafia look or like a Jimmy Kimmel setup.
Okay.
So it's a little. Yeah, we don't know where we're going yet. I'm looking at certain cheaper options, so we don't know which one yet. So it might be like a desk with a chair, and it might be like a late night show host talk setup or a mafia setup. I don't know yet exactly where I'm going with there.
That sounds so
Yeah, so
freaking interesting.
because if I do the office setup, I'll be honest with you guys, it's just gonna be my equipment like that I use on a daily basis on it, so it's not gonna interrupt me. I'm just gonna have to get a wooden desk instead of the plastic instead of the.
Does that desk work for you?
I'll take a look at it. I
Yeah.
didn't see it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll see. And imagine that desk does work for me. That'd be crazy. But yeah. So there's a lot of the setup idea is really nice. I think I talked already about like what I'm going to be talking about in season 5. It's about, overcoming your own personal adversities, and everyone has a story, just like Anthony said. So it'll be beautiful hearing that side of the story. So don't worry, no part twos on that one, just straight one episodes. And yeah, I mean it's gonna be simple like that, but it's gonna be a nice, cooler like one on one.
Yeah,
Because we've said like the biggest take from this season is that when you have a group, it's hard.
it's
It's hard to
difficult.
get everyone to voice their opinion because one question or
Can take
one
an hour.
topic can take an hour.
Yeah, and you want to make sure everyone is included,
Exactly.
and it's hard to direct. The conversation. You don't want to be rude and be like, all right, don't talk about that. Or,
Yeah.
there's so many factors and it's very difficult. But to piggyback on you, shout out to the fam. Shout out to all the friends and family watching the podcast. Thank you for supporting my friend Pucas.
I appreciate it. And they followed me because of you guys, and hopefully they stay as followers.
And hopefully they follow my account.
Yeah, facts.
I hope so.
Facts. I'm excited to be on that one. I'm not trying to be cocky, but Aunt told me already that I'm a part of that one eventually. So
100%.
I'm definitely excited to see where that one goes. Hopefully he's learned from all the mistakes that happened in season 4.
We'll
from
see.
Not plugging in the laptop to not hitting record on the SD card player. What else have we done? Where lights were too much in our faces, where we didn't know that the ISO settings on the camera were fucked up on my shit. From this not being clipped on correctly and falling in the middle of the fucking set.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fun.
so there's a lot of things like me and Ant took out from it, like hilarious things, hilarious moments, and yeah, I wish I listened to Ant a little bit more on the behind the scenes. Maybe I'll do that for this next one because it looks like it's very important. Like I can remember them because they're my memories, and But if I could share those moments with everybody, I'm sure everyone would love to see the funny fucking moments prepping for the podcast.
That part of your character is what makes you.
Oh, yeah,
you're very in the moment. So like when you have, guys, like Pukas,
they might cancel me behind the scenes. They might cancel that part of me. It's like, yo, Puka, I really appreciate what you're talking on your podcast, but I don't think I can handle the BTS. Oh,
That's
man.
funny.
But yeah, man, it's gonna be very exciting. It's gonna be fun. Like I said, I'm taking a month, maybe a month off. You'll still see me in a bunch of reels. So the reels are a quarter way there. I won't lie to you. They're not all the way there. They're a quarter way of being picked out. They're going to be reels from season 2 and up. So just expect a bunch of 1080, then really good quality, but we'll see. We'll mix it up. We'll see which ones I use, and it should be fun. It should be very much fun, and I'm very excited. Season 5 is going to have a lot of my I already got 2 of them from my former job. They're coming on, so I'm excited to pick their brain on that. See where that lays out. There's one kid that I really want to have on the episode where he's doing really successfully. He's doing really good on this other side business that he's doing, and I want to bring him on. And yeah, the behind the scenes on that one would be crazy because he's going to show me a car, and let's just say that car is fucking amazing. So I want to see if I could do a behind the scenes on that, like clipping him just driving me around for no fucking reason.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably pick up a used GoPro for like $50.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think
go with a GoPro 8 Plus. That's 4K 60.
I'm about to just ask Hasbulla to let me fucking borrow his for a month because he's not even using it.
I'm not even using it, but I might use it. I don't know.
No,
I'll
yours
let
would be good for the behind the scenes.
Yeah, because I might use exactly.
That would be a great camera for behind the scenes for you. But yeah, man, we'll see. I mean, it's a lot of exciting parts. Ant was great. I hope this helped him a lot.
It has.
Yeah, and it helped me too. Like it's nice having a co-host. It's nice sharing responsibilities of just like, yo, I got this set up. Yo, I got this part. Yo, I got this at least. Let me do at least. Ant always calls it minimal, but it's not minimal. It does so much of peace of mind for a person. Like if I don't have to be worrying about cables, I can just sit here, and he doesn't realize it, but my brain's cooking. Like, okay, what are we going to talk about? While he's setting everything else up. And I'm just like, okay, that's a peace of mind. Like that does so much. That's a fucking like you can't put a price on peace of mind for that.
You can't, yeah.
Yeah.
That's facts.
You're
The
like
way you
with
just said it, exactly.
yeah, and like you're gonna start realizing that for your own pod. Like
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
gonna have your guest here in person, right?
yeah, that's why I want to try to set up everything and it's fixed. So I don't have to keep coming down here and play with the damn tripod and play with the cables. I want it all hidden, set up, and I just come downstairs, put a laptop or have my desktop computer that's all the way back there, and it's all plugged in already. I just press record. That's all I want to do, but that's gonna take time.
yeah.
That's not gonna happen on day one.
Hopefully that happens with me in this little new setup. But yeah, it should be exciting, man. It should be very exciting. And you know, you haven't seen the last of Ant on my podcast. Like I said, he's definitely gonna be a guest for next season. Ant's killed it in every season, man. Since season 2, you've been a returning guest and you've killed it every single time.
Thank you, man.
You season
Yeah,
2,
means a lot.
you blossomed with your brother, you know, in the side to side fucking mic.
Yeah, I know. We shared a mic, right?
Yeah.
We shared a mic on a pod. Yeah.
Yeah, on season
You see the
2,
difference?
and then taking the first step.
No, one of my favorites.
Yeah, and then the George one was really good. I got to put more clips on that one. The George one where we went to his house, I love that episode.
Yeah, it was actually a good camera setup we had for that podcast.
Yeah, and George did really good, and he was being really raw, talking about his kids now, right? So
there's a lot of clips, man. There's so many. I mean, one day just watch one podcast
and just fucking
and just
clip the fuck out of it.
Yeah, just think about the clips and then write down the timestamps.
Yeah,
and then you could just make 20 clips.
And the one thing I think I've definitely learned from clip making, man, which is why I wanted to do it, by the way. This is the only reason why I wanted to do clip making and not automated it. I've gotten so good now at picking a point and making that point work. Like if I heard something that was even said for 30 seconds, I'm learning to in-tune myself where, all right, this needs to be here, this needs to be there. There are clips I've made where the thing's actually said after, but I'll make it go first and still make it blend in perfectly with the ending part.
That's so
and
cool.
I'm learning to do that. I'm learning to even like just be like, okay, this works with this. Images do so much. I've known that P Diddy one has blown up OD.
Yeah,
like with, and I think people love images, and I'm gonna start adding images to almost everything, especially if it's a topic. You know what I mean?
The clip of my clip, or you're talking about the podcast itself on YouTube?
The one with where I'm like talking about the P Diddy and the Biggie stuff.
Yeah, it did blow up.
Yeah, it was doing pretty good, and a lot of my friends were like, "Yo, like you should do a whole conspiracy just on them," and I'm like, "Fuck, maybe I just need to do like a conspiracy thing on every season, like one, just focus on one and just fucking."
Yeah, just give a perspective, and maybe it's interesting, Also preface it. Just be careful. Don't claim things that aren't, factual.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes.
Everything's going to be allegedly. The episode's going to be called He Did It Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, and you can make it fun. You can make it comedic. There's so many ways to do it.
Yeah, man. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, dude. Great job, man. You did great, man, this season.
Let's
keep it up. And is there anything for the audience? Is there any action items for audience? Do you want them to write a comment? Do you want them to say anything? Do you want them?
Well, you guys have done great by not canceling me yet. Honestly, one thing I definitely want to give out, since I've been bullshitting it since season 2, I keep saying there's going to be talks of merch, but that is the biggest thing I'm working on in season 5. Even if it's just like a pen. Bro, because I want to give something out for cheap to everybody to have an option and support, because there are a couple people that reached out that wanted the hat. It's just that, I'll be honest with you, I love the hat idea and it looks nice on camera, but I don't like how it sits on my head. And I'm a hat person, so it like dwells in from the sides, and I wouldn't want to sell that to somebody. You know what I mean? I don't like that. If I don't fuck with it to the extreme, like, why would someone else fuck with it to the extreme?
That's fine. You can have a standard.
Yeah,
that's not a problem.
So I'm working on the on the things. What I am gonna do though, actually, for season 5, is it's not gonna happen in the beginning of season 5. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna order a bunch of shit for myself that has PCP stuff. It's gonna be like a shirt that says PCP on the left hand side, one that's gonna say like finish your book or something like corny as fuck, or something in the back, or a hat, or a fucking I don't fucking know. Like something. You're gonna see a bunch of PCP merch on the desks, so it should be fun. We'll see where we go from there. But keep your eyes out, and hopefully, if you guys do like what I'm like wearing in the episodes in season 5, or the hat that I'm representing, or you'll see, like, the reason I'm saying is as little as a pen, because I'll have that on my desk with the cups and the mugs. And if people like it, they can tell me like, yo, if you have that, like, make that a fucking item, and I'll do it. I'll order like 100, keep it limited, or 50, and just whoever buys it buys it. If not, I'm just gonna keep having PCP shit all over my fucking room, which, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I can alys give it out, right?
You can
Every
always
episode
give it
to the
out.
people that are coming through,
Exactly.
so I can take it now that way, and it still helps me. So
You're investing in your company. That's how you have to think about it.
yeah,
No
right.
L's.
Well,
It's all
always
wins.
I don't want to invest in something that I don't like, right?
Well,
If I'm
gotta
investing
stick.
on the item, I gotta like the item.
Yeah,
It's just,
you'll like the item.
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't buy it if you don't like it.
hopefully, right?
I hope so.
Hopefully, but yeah, man, we'll see. Other than that, you have the closing remarks, man.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed season 4. What a roller coaster. I met a lot of new people I've never talked to before on this podcast.
Facts.
Can you guess which ones those were? No, seriously, it was a pleasure. I had to learn a lot. And we had to deal with a lot of things behind the scenes here that you don't see on the podcast. You don't. But it has been kind of chaotic down here. There's so many tripods and things in the way. It's not big space, guys. It's not really a huge space, so
Yeah,
it's difficult to work in, and it was cold. It was really cold down
it's
here.
getting warmer. It's getting warmer.
Yeah,
Of course, we chose the coldest fucking time.
when we're talking.
What the fuck did we start? December-ish? Yeah, we chose fucking December, like in January, to fucking host most of the episodes.
Shivering.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for your. Like I said, if you follow me, definitely follow Ant when he. Is it going to still be on Blazer?
Blazer Vision Media, yeah.
The pod's going to be there.
Everything is rebranded right now. There's a website. Everything. You could check my IG. You could check my YouTube. Everything's rebranded to Blazer Vision Media.
I'll post it on.
And you'll see the same logo everywhere. So
let's go.
All right.
Let's go. I'm excited, and thank you guys for tuning in for this season. And take care.
Peace out, guys.